Hello, everybody. Drasko here from uplevelmind.com, where my main mission is to help heart-centered entrepreneurs who know all the business strategies realize their next revenue milestone by mastering what's between their ears. And for today's episode, we have a real talk segment where I bring in a heart-centered entrepreneur who isn't seeing the consistent, stable growth in their business. And then live on a call, I get to help them get out of their own way on one inner challenge that they're currently experiencing towards their next business upgrade. And for today's guest, we have Doruk Cansev, who is an author, entrepreneur, brand manager, life strategist, and all in all, he helps people live meaningful, balanced lives, one book and one coaching session at a time. So Doruk, thank you very much for coming on. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Drasko. Thank you so much for having me. And, I've been looking forward to this. And I really admire what you do here and also how you do it. So this is a great opportunity for me to find out some things about me and also hopefully some of your listeners to get inspired. So how are you doing?
I'm doing good. So thank you. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for the lovely introduction on the flip side. And also I have to commend you additionally, because I think you're the first guest that I've had, well, A, from Turkey, and B, that's doing this at 12 midnight, your local time. So just right off the bat, I appreciate you for that.
My pleasure.
What I would love to get into to start with is, like I listed off a bunch of things from your bio as far as like author and entrepreneur and strategist and brand manager. So if you could just give us some background on kind of how you got into doing what you're doing and what brings you here.
Well, we can also add the podcast host. As you know, very recently I'm starting my own podcast. I'm happy to see you there, of course. So my journey goes back to my high school years, where I was always so fascinated by psychology and philosophy. But over the years, I got lost that connection with that side of myself. And I focused on my career and studies and everything. And during my day job, I'm a brand manager for a global company, managing some of the biggest brands in the world, in Turkey at least, and in East Europe. And I love what I do there. I think it's very fitting to my abilities and also aspirations in life. But very recently, during COVID, I started to write again, as I was doing in high school. And I came up with this book idea, which is balanced, and it's about finding the sweet spots of our personalities. And I published it. Then I really loved what I did there. I really loved what I learned and what I found out about myself and human nature. And I decided to look for other ways to get in touch with that side of myself by also helping other people. Like the book itself, it was the catalyst for me. And from then on, I got my coaching certification. I started my coaching business. I wrote my second book. And very recently, I launched this podcast, Deeply Inspired. And all of them come from my own signature strengths, which are like in terminological terms, like wisdom, creativity, and curiosity. So now my purpose is to find or create new ways to help people reach their full potential in life. Because I believe I maybe did not get the guidance that I can now offer to other people, at least back in the days. So now I'm trying to offer that to other people through various ways, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a book, whether it's coaching, and they all have their own advantages, and I love each of them, because in the end, they are all ways of helping people reach their full potential in life. So what brings me here today maybe is that I'm trying to build a life around it. Like right now, I'm juggling many balls, and my day job being, of course, the biggest one. And as I said, I love what I do there, and maybe I see myself also as a marketing consultant. I already started some experimentations as well, so that's another hat that we could mention. Like, I'm also helping people build marketing strategies, especially communication strategies for their businesses and their personal brands. All in all, what I'm trying to achieve is create a life out of it with well-balanced and very energizing and purposeful activities, which requires me especially to build this business. I believe where coaching will be the main revenue generator. And I have already got a lot of clients, especially locally. But since my country is going through an economic downturn, I believe I can expand into global market. And I am a person with no boundaries. Like, I see myself as a world citizen, and I will probably move abroad sooner or later and live like a digital nomad. And actually, right now, I'm living the life of a digital nomad since the office is closed, and I'm doing Airbnb stuff in the coastal towns. But I want to do it globally to meet new people and have more influence, more reach, more ways to touch people's and their hearts and minds. So I hope that's a good summary, but let's hear it from you.
100%. Yeah, that was beautifully said. And I could feel the like the genuineness behind where you want to go, right? This isn't just, oh, I want to kind of do something differently and that I'd love to travel around the world. Like, that is part of the whole story, but it's by no means the full story. Like, the full story is the meaning behind it, etc. And you had mentioned that a lot of the reason that you went in this direction had to do with the fact that, you know, you didn't get the support while you were growing up in the way that you support your clients right now, or the way that you would like to coach. So to me, that kind of resonates as the whole sentiment of, like, your mess ends up becoming your message. So I just want to know, like, is that accurate for you, and kind of what, like, just, I
It's
guess,
pretty
elaboration on that.
close. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's what got me into this, but along the way, I found this to be my main driver, my main tension, and my main offering. So maybe sometimes we find the meaning of what we do only after we start doing them, and that was the case for me there. But yeah, definitely that's the current sentiment.
Got it. And what did you feel like you missed out on before that you were able to provide for yourself once you got into the work?
I think I would have studied psychology in college, and probably I would have been a clinical therapist, or I don't know. I could go into various directions, but I would have been around there. And now I'm still considering like studying psychology or maybe counseling, and I'm exploring options. But I thought coaching could be another way to help people, and I found that it is accurate. And uh, actually, there are pretty commonalities among all these three domains, but there are, of course, also boundaries. So I try to really stick to the ethical parts. I really try to focus on helping people get from 0 to 1, get their goals, and find out what they want from life. So, but still, it is the same sentiment that is driving probably therapists and counselors and coaches. And I feel very grateful to be able to part of that group in my own way and in my own contributions.
Got it. Okay. So, like, your biggest motivating factor for doing this kind of work is to see people go from, like, where they are right now to the next level that they want to be, and you help
Exactly.
facilitate and guide them there.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. So what then do you feel like is keeping you from doing that, or like what do you feel like is your biggest business challenge to do that?
I think the first one would be time, meaning both experience, learnings, and also consistency and cumulative returns. So I'm pretty young in my own standards. Like maybe there are younger people who are much more successful already in these businesses, but I am 28 and I have been coaching in less than a year. Like I have more than 100 hours, but it's pretty low compared to many professionals out there, maybe. But it's still enough for me to see the value in it and feel comfortable and confident in what I do. So now my challenge is to first get this consistent, long-term, long game thing rolling, keep it up, and keep it growing while learning, while getting better at it. And like one of the other biggest challenges is, in my belief, could be credibility. Like I'm a 20-year-old guy from Turkey, and I don't have any like credentials in psychology, etc. Like I don't want to use this as an excuse, but I feel it's part of the package, and I lack certain credibility right now. And I believe I can make it up for that with my experience and personality and everything, thinking and sentiment and everything. But I don't know if I'm there because I'm having a hard time sometimes finding clients, especially in the international, let's say, market. I don't know what to call it, but I can drive traffic to my ads. I can get clicks, but I have a hard time turning those clicks to sales. And that's the challenge. And I like associated it with credibility, but that's a hypothesis. And another hypothesis could be, and another challenge, that I currently don't have a niche. The way I see it, I can help any person in the world with their own struggles and goals. And my practice also confirms this. Like I help executives in the companies become better leaders, but I can help a football player from Africa be a better football player, or a law student from Malaysia become a better law student and more assertive. Or I have helped like a delivery guy from UK. I have helped a Bolivian student. Like I can touch a lot of people from various walks of life. Just today, I had this conversation with a Christian missionary, I guess, and I helped him become a better communicator. So I have various ways to help people at their own levels and meet them where they are. But I don't know whether that is an efficient marketing strategy. And as a brand manager and marketing person myself, I am having these discussions in my head whether it is time for me to find a niche and grow from there. Maybe in time, with more credibility, I can have a more broad message and more embracing framework and practice. But maybe when I'm starting out, I need a niche. So that's one of the discussions I would love to have with you. And the third thing could be sales part. I don't know if I'm a good salesman because I never put myself into those situations in life. Like I'm a very go with the flow person. I never try to find ways when I see that kind of a resistance, especially in other people. Like in my own life, I fight with all the struggles that I come, but I never try to change other people or their ideas. So I know sales is not that, but still there's a part of influence going on, and this is different than marketing in a way. So when I get people to talk with me or interact with me, I don't know if I have what it takes right now to close it, if that's the right term. So if I were to sum it up, like I need some time maybe to build and grow. I need to decide whether I need a niche or I should stay in the mass. I also need to work on my credibility, maybe depending on the niche. And also maybe I need to work on my closing skills or sales skills.
Got it. Okay. Well, very well structured and very like in tune, like with your own awareness of like where the potential issues are. So before we dive into that, the one question I had is like, what is enough credibility?
Let me think. Like for me, it's a metric. Like I would imagine enough credibility would have me convert three or four interactions, like at least one of them, to some kind of sales. Like for now, I don't know, maybe that's ratio is 1 in 10. But with enough credibility, I believe it could be 1 in 3, maybe 1 in 2. I don't know. Maybe the norm is 1 in 5. As I interact with more coaches internationally, I learn a lot from you. I learn a lot from your podcast too. But yeah, for me, that's the definition.
So would that, like, how would you define credibility then?
Credibility is, for me, the level of trust a person has in you to deliver what you promise.
Okay, so the level of trust the person has in me to deliver on what you promise.
Yeah, like I have full confidence that I can deliver that, but I doubt that people who interact with me and who don't know me from like real life, they might have some concerns, or at least that's my hypothesis concerning that. I do paid ads to try, and I can drive traffic to my website or other platforms, but I have a hard time converting them. Maybe I need some other funnels, I need some other strategies there. Maybe I need more points of contact with them. But yeah, other hypothesis is that I'm not giving that credibility to them right now.
Okay, so do you mean credibility or do you mean trust?
How do you differentiate them? Like for me, they are similar, but
okay. So the reason that I ask is because you mentioned multiple times in the intro of like, I don't know if I should get, like I would have gone into psychology. I don't know if I should like dive into that more. I don't know if I need more time and experience doing this. I've only had 100 hours, but I know I can deliver the result. So it's like I don't have credibility. I don't have something that says I can do the thing that I say I'm going to do. Okay. So does that resonate with you?
let me think, because I'm not sure what you mean. Like, because I'm trying to look at it from other people's perspective, from possible clients, from prospects perspective. Like for me, as I said, like from what I have practiced till now, and what I have learned, what I have researched, what I have wrote about, what I have coached, I feel like almost 100% confident that I can change any people's lives. But from another people's perspective, when they look at me, I'm not sure what they see, at least now, because I haven't yet established this brand for myself, at least very strongly. And it's part of it is also the image, I believe. And I have a branding, I have all the consistency. I'm trying to work on my messages and everything, but the person you are also comes with your age or who you are. And I believe I am a very mature person, and I am well, probably ahead of my age in many areas. But when a person looks at my photograph, when a person listens to my voice, when they watch a video of mine, I'm not sure what goes on through their minds. And maybe that's a good point. Maybe I should ask them to get more feedback. So I will definitely do that. But still, what do you think?
So my question to you would be, when you, like, imagine if you need to hire a plumber,
Mhm.
do you hire them based on age?
Could be, I don't know, but yeah, I see what you are coming from. Like maybe also my previous clients and their endorsements could be another way to boost credibility. But
Could be.
like if they were at the same price, I would go with the more senior, more older plumber, just because he might have more experience, not because he is better.
Right,
Statistically speaking, yeah, that would be my bias.
right. And if the younger plumber came at you and he was like, listen, I can get you your hot shower back in like 1 hour, don't worry about it, I got it. And the older plumber was like, well, I have this certification, I've been doing this for this long, I know what I'm doing. Would you still go with the older plumber?
Who's saying the certification part? The younger one.
The older one. The younger one just says, hey, listen, I can get your plumbing working and you're gonna have hot water in an hour. I got this.
Yeah, the younger one also has some certifications, but it also comes down to price also. Like this is why I'm charging at the
So let's
very
assume
low
that
end.
they charge the same amount. Who would you go with?
Okay, if they're charging the same amount, I would go with the older one.
Okay,
I think it's only reasonable, and this is the part I'm struggling with.
perfect. So why?
Um, like statistically speaking, an older person would have probably more experience, and sometimes experience is worth a lot. Sometimes not, and so like the younger plumber could fix those things even better, but he would have a harder time convincing me he needs some better pitch, maybe. I don't know.
Perfect. So in that instance, because it's a hypothetical example, and there's a lot of instances that, okay, like the same pricing, they generally, they're certified, so whatever. So it's your own belief about what experience means that gets you to hire the older one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Unless there is some deep technology or innovation going on, and he has some reason to believe on that innovation or some technology part, maybe.
Right. And that's an additional layer to the hypothetical example now, right? Like, so you added that in, unless there was also this other variable, then I would choose it based on this.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. Kind of
realistically,
like part of this credibility is also reason to believe in the marketing jargon, and yeah, and he could come up with other advantages, other unique propositions.
right. So all in all, like right now, the reason that you're going to choose one over the other is going to be your own inherent beliefs about what's important in an actual buying decision.
Yeah,
Okay. Who gets to decide those beliefs?
people.
Well, in this instance, who got to decide those decisions?
That would be me, the client.
Correct. That would
Right,
be you,
right.
the client, not people.
Yeah, yeah. When I mean people, yeah, I want to mean potential clients. Yeah, prospects.
Right. Those potential clients are going to trust you to the extent that you believe you are trustworthy.
Yeah.
So when I hear you speak about everything that you're mentioning that's a problem,
Mm-hmm.
you have a very good grasp on what the problem might be. I might not know sales. I can attract clicks, but I can't get conversions. I'm aware that when people speak to me, I might not be like niching down. I agree with you on all of the tactical things. There's nothing about your assessment of them that I would say is a red flag. But the whole thing started with you saying, I need more credibility, right?
Yeah.
the lens through which you view any strategy, the lens through which you are going to implement any tactics is going to be from a place of lacking the trust that only you can provide going forward.
Maybe. The thing is, the problem, I don't know, maybe I'm pulling up a resistance here, but it's more than the trust I have in myself than the trust they would have on me. And I know maybe it's a projection, but I think it's a very likely projection, and I will confirm it with some feedback requests. So I kind of see what you mean, but could you also help me clarify what are you really implicating and how it could be helpful?
100%. So I don't mean to say that there's not a skill gap in something, right? Like a skills in selling is definitely a skill gap. And if you've self-identified it, the chances are that also exists. But the only, like, you can take that skill as far as your belief in self is going to go, right? Like if you think of a ladder, and if you think of the steps on a ladder and you imagine those are skills, you will only be able to get that skill up as high as the two sides, which are, let's just say, belief and traits, are ever going to take you. Okay. So that skill can only rise to the level of your belief in being able to deliver the service, right? Because right now there's a disconnect that colors everything that you do. On one side, it's I 100% believe I can get results for people.
Yep.
But then on the flip side is I lack the credibility to get results for people because people don't trust me. Now,
Yep.
There's definitely tactical things you can do to like embellish that. But again, it's only going to go as high as your ability to step and own what you say your skill as a coach actually is.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that land for you?
I need to think to digest and make sure I understand correctly. So you mean there's a gap, but it's not between what I do and what I promise, but maybe what I do and what I believe in, or maybe where do you think is the gap in your own thinking?
The gap is between what you do and how you communicate it.
Yeah, could be.
Right? Because it's like the ownership of what you do and the clarity of what you do lags behind the skills that you say that you have.
Yeah.
Right?
That's one way to put it. Yeah.
So the communication skills, like there's various ways to break that down, and you've done a good job of that. There's a selling aspect. Certainly there is a niching aspect because I can help everybody doesn't really do much, right? And you know, like I don't need to explain to you the importance of that piece of communication given your background. Like you already know that piece. So my observations and my main questions are more towards what is the gap between what you already know and are aware of and can identify, and you actually executing on getting better at those things. And from my vantage point, if you are constantly needing credibility, then you're always going to be searching credibility as opposed to executing on the things that you already have awareness of.
Yeah, that's the challenge. Like I'm spending energy on marketing and everything else, maybe even reading about sales, like trying to improve there instead of maybe going there and doing coaching. So if that's what you mean, yeah, that's totally right. But I kind of see it as part of the whole deal. Like I need to get that fixed. So I would ideally not do them, but I see that they come with the package and I'm okay to own that. But as per your first question, if I got that right, so the gap between what I do and what I communicate, right? What I want to do about it, or what was your question?
So I didn't really have a question. It was more of just a reflection back.
Yeah. I think that's a communication issue, and yeah, partly it's also tied to the niche part, because like then comes the question, who are you credible for? And like if I get a niche that's probably younger than me, I would be probably more credible to them with a like professional career and like 2 books and podcasts. Like that might seem pretty credible. And that might seem pretty credible to someone else too over my age, but they will always have this. I think it also comes with the ego. Like that's part of human nature. I would be in a similar situation. Like it would be hard for me to just, especially for someone under 30 maybe, but that could be another excuse. Still, I believe, yeah, that's part of the communication deal as well. So I will need to figure it out how to close that gap, or how to find a niche that does not create that gap for me.
Okay. So that right there, if you're to rewind, is exactly the perfect example of what I was like reflecting back to you earlier, right? The solution to your problem, you articulated. I need to choose a niche, and I need to choose a niche so that my communication's clear. And as soon as you went there, your brain right away negated everything by saying, oh, but I can't really do that yet because I don't have the credibility. Then you listed and found all these reasons why I don't have the credibility to do what is the actual solution to my problem. So it's like the lens through which you view the world is I need credibility before I
Well,
do
I was
anything else.
comparing a niche that I would be credible for right now with a niche that I would probably not be credible for again now. Like for executive coaching, I wouldn't be the best candidate probably. But for coaching someone younger than me, I would be probably the ideal candidate who can understand them even better than maybe someone over 40, I don't know. And for the in-between segment, I don't know quite where I stand, but I doubt that, yeah, there's gap.
So would you be credible to coach a 20-year-old Olympic athlete who has performance anxiety issues and are about to go do a world-class performance for their gold medal match?
For an Olympic athlete, I probably wouldn't. Like if I was an Olympic athlete,
But
I
they're
would
younger than
probably,
you, so why not?
okay. So yeah, there is also the experience part or the other credibility medals that you earn through the years. So maybe
Okay.
endorsement from your past clients, companies.
So
And
let's
yeah,
just take it a
so
different
this is
way.
not about age only. So this is why I started with time first instead of age. Like I could have started this at 25 or 35 as well. And I would still have the struggle to have the experience checked. But on top of that, I think still age is another factor. Like compared to someone 25 and 30 and 35 and 40, if we all have the 100 hours and if we all have the knowledge and the intellectual level and everything else and the social skills, people would, in my opinion, choose the older one.
Well, that's in your opinion, but it's
Yeah,
not
that's my
necessarily
opinion,
true.
and I will test that. Yeah, I will put that
So
to test.
to do it a different way, how many 40-year-olds do you know that wrote 2 books?
I don't know many.
Okay.
Why?
How many 50-year-olds do you know that wrote 2 books?
Yeah, like I was comparing apples to apples, like considering they also wrote 2 books. They did everything else that I did.
Right.
Like the only, yeah, it all comes down to person as well, of course.
Of course,
And
like
that's
writing 2 books and you've done that is like a very rare thing. Like I've written no books, so how do I have the credibility to reflect anything back to you?
could you clarify the question? You read no books or you wrote
No,
no
I
books?
wrote like I've never written a book
I
in my
heard.
life, but you said you wrote
Yeah.
2, right? Or you wrote
Yeah.
one but are writing a second one.
No, I already published second 2.
Okay, so you published 2 books.
Yeah.
Right? You don't know any 40-year-olds that have published 2 books. Doesn't really seem like you know many 50-year-olds that have published 2 books.
Yeah.
I've published 0 books as well. What gives me the credibility to coach you?
There is a certain level of experience in what you do and confidence that comes with it. Like, I don't know how many hours you have put in. I would assume well over 300 or 400, but maybe that's another way of thinking in too many metrics. But I would guess well over 200 or 300, maybe close to 1,000. I don't know. I'm just guessing. And that gives you credibility in my eyes and in also ICF's eyes as well. This is the certification, how certification goes. Like not everyone goes through ACC, PCC, MCC, but there is a certain credibility that comes with that. And some companies only work with MCCs or PCCs, not even ACCs. And that's, I don't know if it's a very healthy way to think, but that's the only objective criteria that I can think of. What would you look at when you were comparing different coaches?
Well, I would say that narrative that you keep circling around with credibility, like how's that working for you to get you moving forward?
That's a good challenge, and I appreciate that. I see what you mean. Like I'm limiting myself with this belief that hours matter more, or age, or experience, or whatever credibility metric that I'm putting my faith on matters more than the trust I have in myself, maybe, or the trust I project to others about myself. But at least for now, maybe later I will see it. For now, I don't see the solution to bridge the gap. Like right now, my solution is to keep on working, to keep on getting more experience, maybe start with the lower end of the pricing. And as I get more experience and more demand, increase my price, get more confidence, maybe get referrals and build it and build it. And I'm just at the 6th month of this. So maybe this is another narrative, but I believe it's pretty early. Like in 6 months, like 1 year and 6 months, I'm sure I'll be in a better place. And 2 and 5 and 10, I can see this credibility building up. So this is why I started with time. Like I kind of need that, but I don't know whether it's enough to build a whole life around it. So that's the biggest challenge still.
Got it. So what I would just reflect back in that instance is you're extremely good at solving your own problems, but equally as good as then not acting them and then overthinking about them that they're not enough. Like everything that you've mentioned as a solution to how to go forward is what I would have prompted you to consider or recommend you do, from the niching to continuing to get the experience to the self-belief aspect, that you like, literally everything verbatim. I have no quarrels with it. What I would recommend you do, like if you want to listen back to this episode, is observe how many times you give yourself the solution, and then right afterwards give an equally compelling and intelligent reason as to why it shouldn't work, right? And the reason that I bring this up to you is like my whole career, from the time that I had my brick and mortar weight loss studio and ran that for 10 years to the clients that I have now, I don't know if, I mean, I've had, but the majority of my clients have always been older than me. Right. And just from that alone, like everything that you're saying right now is totally like, I have a different worldview in that doesn't even matter. Right. That's kind of why I asked you about the plumber. Like, as long as the plumber is going to give you the results, are you going to choose the one that has a higher age? And yours was yes, because that's the filter through which you view all decisions. I need a certain level of arbitrary experience. I need some sort of external experience. I need somebody to say, you know, whether consciously or not, you are good enough to do the thing you want to do. What I'm saying or suggesting is for you to take ownership of the things you have actually done. Writing 2 books, doing podcasts on a Friday at midnight is not something that most people do or have the will to do, right? Going out of your way to start a second career while you're still in one, like, these are qualities that are more reflective of your credibility to actually do the work that you want to do than any sort of certification you could have shown me prior to this, right? But you completely discount the like life experience that you've had, constantly searching for this kind of credibility validation, and worse yet, like discounting your own good solutions to the problems in front of you. So how does all of that land for you?
Again, I appreciate the challenge. I will listen to it with a more calmer mind and probably get more out of it. But when I think about it, like, I may be discounting the positives, but for me they are given, and I don't really take light of them. Like, I know what they're worth, and I again feel grateful to have the abilities and drive to go through them and achieve them, and I'm at peace with them. But I have this problem solving mentality that I always focus on the next problem. And for me, yeah, the problem right now is getting international clients. And one of the hypotheses was credibility, but maybe with your challenges, I might reframe it and like position it more as a kind of maybe trust or the projection of that trust, if that's what you mean. But is that enough? And like, besides the time factor that will work for my favor in any way, is that enough, or are there any other things that I should do?
So
including the niche and the funnels and systems and everything else.
I mean, that's a very broad conversation to have, especially in this container, because that can go in many, you know, different directions and can take a long time. What I would just highlight to kind of wrap this up is you are right. Like, yes, I got to kind of look internally and just take ownership of the fact that I am good enough to do what I'm going to do. And I'm not at all saying discount the quality of you that's really good at problem solving. I think that is a major strength in your attitude towards betterment and increasing your competency. Like that's a golden trait to have in anything that you do, because it shows that you want to work on your craft. Why I reflected all those things was more to realize you might be living the distortion of that. Right. I always say, like, your first strengths become your strengths usually become your first distortions. So I'm so good at problem solvings, I'm going to look for problems where they really don't exist, because that's just where my brain goes. Right. And then that's kind of why I gave you the example of like all of your good suggestions, you then turned into reasons why they can't work, because you look for a problem in all of them. And when you look for problems, you will find them. Right. So that's number one. Number two, with regards to the reframe, right?
Mhm.
Don't reframe it as far as like, I need credibility, right?
Mhm.
Own the credibility that you have and know that it'll increase over time.
Mhm.
But as far as like niching down or how do I communicate, reframe it more towards the result. Like, what is the result that you are getting for the clients that you're working?
Mhm.
Your ownership of getting them that result for the specific individual, like that then becomes the foundation of your niche, right? So
Yeah.
that's like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
external solution and the internal one that we spoke about before.
That's a very good summary, I would say, of your novel suggestions. Like, very well put, very well diagnosed, and definitely things that I will be looking into. And this, especially what you first said, is so close to my premise in my first book, Balance. Like, whenever a good trait or state goes into an extreme or an excess, it becomes self-defeating, it becomes like destructive and maladaptive. So, like, maybe in the book, I had this perfectionism line where discipline can turn into obsession. And for your diagnosis, like problem solving can maybe turn into problem making or problem imagining, whatever we call it. So yeah, that's one thing that I'm taking. And owning the credibility, yeah, that's also very helpful. Like, I don't know if that's enough. Like, still, that's part of me whispering on my shoulders, but that's what I'm also trying to do. And I have been trying to present it to other people because it's kind of like hurting me to see that there are so many people that I could help, and they're not aware or interested yet in what I can offer. And this is part of the marketing beauty, like raising awareness. I see it as a uh, positive thing. I see it as a gift if there is value in what is offered. So my challenge is right now to find ways to make people aware of what they can get, and I own that. But still, I'm not clear on how I can do that exactly. But it gives me some more things to think and cook and see how it goes. So yeah, definitely appreciate them all.
Absolutely. Definitely appreciate you for, stepping up and facing those things. So kudos to you. And yes, I agree. This generally tends to open up, loops on like, okay, where do I go next? But like I said, those questions are going to go beyond the context of this particular container. So just on that note, then what we've gone through today, like, does that feel complete for you? Or is there still something left outstanding?
Like, I am very fast and I always think next steps. So there could be other things that we could work on, but for your podcast duration and today's purposes, I think that was an excellent session and a very well needed challenge. So I think that was complete in that sense. So thank you so much, and thank you for offering this platform to everyone. And again, as I said, I hope that listening to this will help people face their own shadows, like I need to face mine, and also own their own credibility or success or whatever they have achieved so far. So thank you for everyone.
Absolutely. You're very welcome. And then just to close us off, if you can tell everybody, where to find you, what's the best place for them to contact you, floor is yours for that.
Sure, thank you. They can just find me in almost any platform with my name. I have a website, dorukcansev.com. I have a Twitter and Instagram. I have a YouTube channel where I post also the videos of the podcast, and my podcast is called Deeply Inspired. So feel free to find it in your favorite podcast platforms or also in YouTube. And you can also add me on LinkedIn or even find me on Fiverr if you look hard enough. So appreciate everyone who want to work with me and who want to find what they want from life and find ways to actually go out and get it.
Awesome. Well, we'll include all those in the show notes. But regardless, thank you very much for coming on. And for everybody else, we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, see you on my own podcast actually. So
Yes.
maybe we can tease it to your audience.
That's true too. All right, take care.
I think that will be very interesting to hear it from your side this time. And thank you. Take care, man.